Before we get started, I want to say there are Steven Universe Season 3 spoilers ahead. Well, hello guys, and welcome to my first ever Steven Universe 3. We will be taking a look at the newest promos that came out, specifically about Bismuth. I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you've already seen the promo, but if you haven't, I'll put a link in the description. Make sure you go watch that first, and then come back. Also, I'm assuming you've at least seen up to Season 3, Episode 3, because I will be referring back to it as well, and episodes prior. Now, from what happens in the promo, Bismuth appears to be a crystal gem, who fought alongside Pearl, Garnet, and Rose during the rebellion, but for some reason she was bubbled. I want to start off by saying, I love this character. She's got this big lumbering design, which I think is great, but instead of being like Jasper, she seems to have this sort of gentle giant personality, which I am totally down for. But the problem is, I don't trust her. There's got to be something more here. You don't just introduce characters like this without wanting to do something big. Now, I don't think she's going to turn out to be evil, or I don't think she's going to turn out to betray the crystal gems. Well, we'll get to that. But I know there's something else going on here. Now, if you don't know, in real life, Bismuth is a metal, specifically number 83 on the periodic table. And in 2003, it was discovered that bismuth is weakly radioactive. Keep this in mind. Now stay with me here, because I'm about to venture into a completely different show here, but hopefully you'll see the connection I'm drawing. Also, remember, this is just a theory based on like a minute of footage, is entirely based on speculation with minor evidence. Okay, now in the early 2000s, there was an anime, it aired on Cartoon Network as well, called Zatch Bell. Don't worry, I'm going to try to explain the basic show to the best of my ability, even though I haven't seen it in like 10 years. In layman's terms, the setup for the show is there are these things called Mimotos, they're demons, who are sent to Earth. Each of them has a spell book, and they have to give their spell book to a human, their Ashikabi, and once they team up with the human to fight other Mimoto, because there is this giant competition to see who will be the next Mimoto King. The specific episode we will be taking a look at is Episode 8, A Kind Mimoto Kalulu. In this episode, we meet the Mimoto Kalulu, who is this very sweet little girl. She is taken off the streets by this girl named Lori, who basically acts as Kalulu's older sister. Lori ends up being Kalulu's Ashikabi, and when she reads a spell from her spell book, it turns Kalulu into this demon, obsessed with fighting. Through a series of unfortunate events, Lori reads the spell to save Kalulu's life. But while she's in this fight crazy mode, she ends up fighting the main character Zatch in a duel. After the duel, Kalulu asks Zatch to burn her book, because this will take her out of the game. Zatch's Ashikabi, Kyo, burns the book, complying with Kalulu's wish. And in her last word, she wishes for a world where Mimoto can be friends, and hopes that Zatch will become a kind king. She basically becomes a martyr for the rest of the show, acting as a driving force of inspiration for the main characters. Now let's get back to how this ties into Bismuth. Now, while Bismuth is a gentle giant, I strongly believe she hides some sort of secret underneath. This secret is another form that basically acts as a sort of rage mode, which better aligns with the flashback we saw in Same Old World. The other Bismuth is a reckless, battle-heavy person. This could be related to the fact that she is a radioactive element. This also helps support why Bismuth was bubbled in the first place. Rose knew about Bismuth's recklessness and sealed her away in a bubble because she was so much of a liability. Even though I love Bismuth, from what we've seen so far, I honestly don't expect her to stay around for long. I'm expecting her to have a small sort of arc, just around a few episodes. One of the reasons I believe this is because I'm still hoping for a Jasper redemption arc. And if Bismuth were to stick around, which I am not against in any way, shape, or form, I think that would completely kill any chance of that happening. What I expect Bismuth's arc to be is that she comes back, gets along all hunky-dory with the crystal gems, but then through a series of events, she ends up entering her rage mode. This would probably have something to do with either Steven, who has Rose's gem, Lapis, who was poofed by Bismuth during the war, or even Amethyst, who might feel as if Bismuth is replacing her, kind of like that one SpongeBob episode with Jim. While in her rage mode, Bismuth ends up attacking and maybe even poofing whatever crystal gem she's mad at. After she turns back to normal, she realizes what a terrible thing she's done and asks the crystal gems to put her back in her bubble, so that way she won't do an awful thing ever again. Remember, this is just wild speculation, and I'm just grasping at straws. Only time will tell. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on Bismuth in the comments below. Also, tell me if you guys want to hear any more of my theories, because I definitely have a few more of them. Until then, peace.